Perfect RIA, in case you didn't know. Bringing you all the strategies to help your business grow. Are you happy? Are you satisfied? Are you hanging on the edge of your seat? Sit back and listen in while you feel the beat, yeah. Another myth bites the dust.
Hello, TPR Nation. Welcome to another Follow-Up Friday. This is Amber Kuhn from The Perfect RIA, and I am joining you as today's Follow-Up Friday host. Our Follow-Up Friday episodes focus on the biggest takeaways and action items from Monday's episode, so let's get to it. On Monday, Matt and Micah were joined by a rock star advisor, Brian Skinner. The guy spent this time talking with Brian about how he's doubled his take-home income and the lessons that he's learned going through this. You do not want to miss watching this episode on our website or through YouTube. So if you just listened on your favorite podcast player, go back and check that video out. Matt and Micah had just wrapped up an Invictus Mastermind, and they recorded this episode at the airport. Talk about being efficient with your time. All right, let's recap Monday's episode. Matt and Micah's guest, Brian, talked about how he already had a growth mindset. But one of the things he had been feeling is that there weren't a lot of opportunities to interact with other advisors. He'd never had a roadmap for where he wanted to be. So he started listening to different podcasts and found Matt and Micah's episodes with Michael Kitces and immediately felt connected to what they're doing. They have the practice that he wants. So instead of making mistakes and reinventing the wheel, he decided to take what was already being done and implement that in his own practice. As a reminder, Micah made sure to highlight the amount of work that this takes to grow your practice like Brian has. It sounds simple, but it is hard work. Matt and Micah talk about this constantly. You have to put in the time to make this work. Brian talked about how pre-COVID, he answered all of his own calls. He didn't know that other advisors didn't answer their phone. He had a lot of head trash surrounding someone else answering the phone, and realizing that other advisors weren't doing that was like a light bulb. A great way to think about this is, does the doctor answer the phone when you call? No, the front desk does. And for those who say, well, I don't answer my phone, that's great, but is there something else that you might be doing that maybe you can improve upon? So Matt said, maybe if it's not answering the phone, maybe you're opening physical mail or responding to email. What is that thing? Brian realized that other things that he was doing, such as answering phone or responding to emails, weren't adding any value to his clients. In fact, answering the phone was really pulling him away from his clients, and that he really needed to focus on those high-level activities instead. Micah mentioned how there can be a lot of head trash around this, which was the exact spot that Brian was in. But in reality, all you're doing is a disservice to your clients. Brian said he learned to implement a process to get details on what a client needs. So if you know why a client is calling, that allows you to pull that information and being prepared, not being caught off guard and trying to scramble for an answer. And Brian didn't lose any clients because he wasn't answering the phone. So for Brian to start implementing the changes in his practice, he decided to focus on how he could deliver more value to his clients. Step 1 was not answering his phone. Step 2 was realizing that he needed a second assistant and making sure that she was able to focus on her skill set, not on activities that aren't her strengths or what she doesn't enjoy. This allows his entire team to not only be focused in what they need to excel in, but focus on what they can do best. Brian shared that it's important to set the mindset for any changes that you're doing in your practice as well. Make sure you frame those changes as how it's better for your clients. Micah wanted to point out again, with all the changes that Brian made, he did not lose any clients. Matt talked about how not answering the phone may sound like such a small thing, but that it's made a huge difference in Brian's practice. Another thing Brian mentioned that made a huge difference was using a calendar booking program. For those who don't like email, his assistant can call and schedule appointments, but he feels like it's helped overall. It's, again, allowed him to be prepared so that he can deliver massive value and his clients feel that they're being heard. One of the biggest takeaways from Monday's episode is that Brian has doubled his practice, but he did not double his hours. He decided to not reinvent the wheel and started following what others were already doing. He really focused on being intentional with his work, with meeting prep, follow-up, and the hours that he's working. Let's get into today's action items. Action item number 1, find someone who has what you want. You do not need to reinvent the wheel. Find out how they did it and just do that. Action item number 2, implement the systems that are proven and then make adjustments instead of trying to fine-tune something that you haven't really tried yet. Action item number 3, just because you listen to one podcast or watch a webinar one time, you could have missed something. So go back, re-listen, re-watch the podcasts or the webinars, and then have your team listen and watch as well. It's so important to have your team involved and on board. Lastly, reminder, you are not alone. It is so important to be involved in a community that will help you level up. So join Matt and Micah, Benjamin Brandt, Stephen Jarvis, and other Rockstar advisors for a panel of success at XYPN on October 8th. Thanks so much for listening, and until next time, happy planning.
Hold on before we go. Something that you need to know. This isn't tax, legal, or investment advice. That isn't our intent. Information designed to change lives. Financial planning can make you thrive. Start today, don't think twice. Be a better husband, father, mother, and